What if Tanjiro had half cold, half hot? Now, if you guys like My Hero Academia content, let me know down below. I'll make more and post it on my main channel. If you want straight MHA content, check out my second channel, shameless plug. But let's get into it. Tanjiro is born with the half cold, half hot quirk, just like Todoroki. He goes out to sell charcoal like usual, and when he comes back, the old man tells him demons are roaming and makes him stay the night. Tanjiro could technically get home faster using his ice, but that would stop the story right there, so he stays. When he returns the next morning, he finds his entire family massacred, with Nezuko being the only survivor. He grabs Nezuko and rushes to find help. He's way faster than normal thanks to his ice movement. That's when Giyu shows up. Tanjiro attacks with ice and fire, but Giyu dodges everything and immediately realizes something is very wrong. He knocks Tanjiro out and tells him to go to Urokodaki for training. Urokodaki sees Tanjiro's quirk and is completely weirded out. Tanjiro explains he's had it since birth and his family always thought it was normal. Urokodaki still teaches him water breathing, but he encourages Tanjiro to mainly use his ice for movement and control, since his fire isn't stable yet, so Tanjiro focuses more on ice than flames early on. At final selection, Tanjiro absolutely dominates. His flames aren't hot enough yet to fully incinerate demons, but his ice is busted. He moves faster by skating on ice, freezes demons in place, and finishes them easily. Against the hand demon, he freezes its arms completely and slices its head off. Final selection is effortless. After that, everything mostly follows the original timeline. He retrieves Nezuko, defeats the swamp demon, defeats the drum demon, and meets Inosuke and Zenitsu. Inosuke doesn't stand much of a chance against Tanjiro. Tanjiro can freeze him instantly or burn him, which just motivates Inosuke to get stronger. Then we reach Rui's mountain, where the biggest changes happen. Tanjiro can burn Rui's webs with fire, but he has to be careful not to hurt other demon slayers. The mother demon is dealt with the same way. When they fight the father demon, Tanjiro freezes it completely so it can't move, letting them deal with it later. Tanjiro uses his ice mobility to move across the mountain way faster and finds Nezuko quickly. When he fights Rui, he can use fire to force Rui into using his strongest webs right away. Even then, Tanjiro can overwhelm him by raising the heat and mixing in ice attacks. Tanjiro still ends up unlocking sun breathing, because water breathing alone isn't enough to kill Rui, but this time, he's not injured or exhausted. He cuts Rui's head off cleanly, without Giyu needing to step in. Now we get to the Hashira meeting. This time, the biggest issue isn't Nezuko, it's Tanjiro's quirk. The Hashira are more confused by his half-cold, half-hot power than a demon traveling with a human. They test to see if it's a blood demon art and confirm it isn't. When things get tense, Tanjiro can burn through restraints or freeze anyone who gets too close. Ubuyashiki, Giyu, and Urokodaki vouch for him, so Tanjiro and Nezuko are allowed to stay. And now we move into the Mugan Train arc. So everything basically happens the same in the Mugan Train arc. They all fall under Enmu's dream trap. Tanjiro and Inosuke go to fight Lower Moon 1, Enmu, while Rengoku, Nezuko, and Zenitsu protect the train. When the train derails, Tanjiro uses his ice to soften the impact, but he still gets stabbed. That part doesn't change much. And yeah, this timeline is still sad. Rengoku still dies. Tanjiro really can't do anything here. If he tries to fire off a huge ice attack, he risks freezing Rengoku along with Akaza. Same thing with fire. He doesn't want to hurt Rengoku even more. On top of that, Tanjiro just isn't strong enough yet to keep up with Akaza, so Rengoku still dies the same way. After that, Tanjiro goes back to training. He starts developing a new ice move called Glacier, similar to Todoroki's move from the sports festival in My Hero Academia. It's basically a massive ice output technique. He wants to learn Flash Fire Fist, but he can't fully use it yet. Before the Entertainment District arc, Tanjiro goes on more missions. He works on regulating his body temperature using half cold, half hot, which lets him raise his heat output safely. His flames become way hotter, and he develops a weaker version of Flash Fire Fist. It's not full power, but it's more focused, condensed flames, higher heat, short bursts instead of wide blasts. Now we get into the Entertainment District arc. They dress up as girls and go looking for Daki. I'm skipping straight to the part where Tanjiro is one-on-one with Daki and his eyes turn red. Tengen, Zenitsu, and Inosuke are fighting the other half of Daki, the Belt Demon. This time, Daki is way easier for Tanjiro. Using Glacier, he can freeze her attacks completely. He traps her in ice, makes sure her head isn't frozen, and cuts it off clean. That's when Gyutaro breaks out of the ice. And just like in the original, he's insanely destructive. He immediately flattens most of the Entertainment District. Tanjiro gets blasted back, but he throws up an ice wall in time so the damage isn't fatal. Tengen realizes what's happening and goes straight to fight Gyutaro. Zenitsu and Inosuke focus on Daki, while Tanjiro is thrown back and has to rush to rejoin the fight. Once Tanjiro gets back with Tengen, he can only do the bare minimum at first, since he's been focusing so much on his half-cold, half-hot abilities. He hasn't trained his sword skills and sun breathing as much, so in pure combat that with a blade, he's a little weaker than before. That said, he still has sun breathing, he's still strong on his own, and he uses his ice to support himself. When one of Tengen's wives gets caught, Tanjiro shoots up using his ice, grabs her, and makes sure she's safe. When Tanjiro is fighting Daki alongside Zenitsu and Inosuke, Tengen still gets his arm cut off and has to stop his heart. Gyutaro doesn't trap everyone under the rubble this time because that already happened earlier. Zenitsu and Inosuke keep fighting Daki, while Tanjiro has to deal with Gyutaro. Once Tengen is out of the way, Tanjiro starts using more of his power, throwing massive amounts of ice and pushing his fire to the hottest output he can manage, even going beyond his limits. When Tengen's arm is severed, Tanjiro uses his fire to cauterize the wound, closing it so Tengen doesn't bleed out. Tanjiro buys time until Tengen finally gets back up, which surprises Tanjiro, and they start fighting Gyutaro together again, with Tanjiro's ice constantly slowing Gyutaro down, and Tanjiro himself getting weaker from how much power he's outputting. The fight turns into a pure endurance battle. Tanjiro pushes past his limits with his sword skills, unlocks his Demon Slayer mark, and together they kill Gyutaro. This time, Tanjiro does not get the sickle through his mouth. Zenitsu and Inosuke aren't buried under rubble. Inosuke isn't half dead, and they defeat Daki much more easily. After all that, Tanjiro goes back to training. So Tanjiro is not in a 3-month coma like before, after the Entertainment District arc. Because of that, he immediately starts working on Flash Fire Fist, pushing more output into it. As he goes on more missions, he finally reaches the point where he can incinerate a demon on his own. At the same time, he gains more ice output and way better control over his ice. He also works heavily on regulating his body temperature, and he eventually gets that down perfectly. That's when he figures out a new technique, Phosphor. This is the move Todoroki tried to master for months in My Hero Academia. It circulates cold and heat through the entire body at the same time. Fire no longer burns him, ice no longer freezes him, and his body stays in equilibrium. Tanjiro has a weaker version of this. It's not fully complete yet, but it's close. He also develops another move called Hell Spider, where fire forms around his fingertips and spreads out like burning webs. It's similar to the technique Endeavor uses. After that, Tanjiro keeps training for a couple of months and goes on more missions to improve his swordsmanship. Since he focused more on his quirk early on, his sword skills are weaker in this timeline, and his blade is actually pretty damaged, so he still needs to go to the Swordsmith Village to get a new sword. We'll skip most of the dialogue there. So after meeting Mitsuri, Muichiro, training with the Battle Doll, and meeting Genya, everyone is pretty surprised by Tanjiro's quirk and how strong it is. I'm going to skip straight to the part where Muichiro clamps Tanjiro's nose and Upper Moon 4 shows up. Muichiro still gets blasted away by the Wind Emotion Demon because nobody knew that attack was coming. After that, the emotion clones split into 4 once Genya and Nezuko jump in to help. Tanjiro realizes he can't fight all 4 at once, and neither can anyone else. So instead, he starts freezing them and taking them on one by one. This causes a lot of destruction. Houses get destroyed, and Nezuko does not end up trapped under the rubble this time. Tanjiro constantly pushes them back, using his new incinerating fire, Flash Fire Fist, and Hell Spider to keep distance, while also using ice to slow and trap them. Even though the clones keep breaking out because they're upper moons, Tanjiro pressures them so hard that they merge into the Wind Emotion clone much earlier to protect the main body. While Genya and Nezuko hold back the main emotion clone, Tanjiro burns through the forest and bushes to search for the real body. Mitsuri arrives, saves the village chief, and helps Tanjiro, Genya, and Nezuko hold back the main emotion clone together. Meanwhile, Muichiro fights Upper Moon 5, Gyoko. Everything there happens the same. The water prison, the new sword, and Muichiro killing Gyoko with his Demon Slayer mark. Muichiro then brings Tanjiro the sword and throws it to him. Tanjiro boosts himself with ice, reaches the main body, and kills Upper Moon 4. Some people might say Tanjiro could have just used ice to protect Nezuko from the sunlight, but that's one of the key moments of the arc. So, let's say Tanjiro never thought of that. And now we move into the Hashira training arc. So, Tanjiro focuses on making sure all of his abilities are up to par before the Hashira training arc. Instead of training closely under one Hashira, he does more solo training because he needs to balance everything: his quirk, his breathing, and his stamina. He focuses more on core training than sword training, but his sword skill still ends up almost where it is in the original timeline. Then the Ubuyashiki family head dies. Muzan traps everyone inside the Infinity Castle, and we get Giyu and Tanjiro versus Akaza. In this fight, Tanjiro can actually keep up for a while using his ice and fire. At one point, he manages to keep Akaza locked in place by constantly burning him while his body is regenerating. Akaza has the fastest regeneration in the entire series, even faster than Kokushibo or Doma, because of how aggressive and close range his fighting style is. But once Tanjiro starts to weaken and can't keep the flames up, Akaza opens him up and nearly punches straight through him. Giyu steps in to save Tanjiro, and in that moment, Tanjiro unlocks his selfless state through memories of his father. father. With that, they finish off Akaza. Because Akaza is defeated much earlier, Tanjiro moves deeper into the Infinity Castle. He gets separated from Giyu due to Nakime's ability and ends up running into Upper Moon 2, Doma. By this point, Doma has already killed Shinobu, which adds more emotional weight to Kanao's story. But Doma's techniques are ice-based, which gives Tanjiro a massive advantage. Tanjiro burns through Doma's techniques, closes the distance, and kills him much faster. Because of that, Kanao doesn't have to destroy her eyesight, and Inosuke comes out of the fight in much better condition. Meanwhile, Giyu reaches the Upper Moon 1 fight. Muichiro and Genya still die, but Giyu helps Gyomei and Sanemi defeat Kokushibo. Kokushibo realizes the truth about his brother and dies the same way. The side battles play out the same. Zenitsu versus Kaigaku. Zenitsu wins with the 7th form Mitsuri, Obanai, and Yushiro versus Nakime. Yushiro takes control of her Muzan notices, kills Nakime, and Yushiro pulls everyone out of the Infinity Castle. Because Tanjiro isn't heavily injured this time, he's able to go straight to the front lines for the final battle. So when Tanjiro arrives at the final battle, the Hashira are already fighting Muzan. In this timeline, Muzan usually releases a huge blast that pushes the Hashira back, and that's what originally killed Mitsuri and caused a lot of them to lose limbs. But this time, since Tanjiro is there, he fires off a massive ice wall to block that blast. That alone saves a lot of lives, including Mitsuri. After that, as Muzan starts slowing down, Tanjiro uses Flashfire Fist to keep burning him non-stop and locking him in place. Muzan's regeneration keeps trying to keep up, but Tanjiro's fire output is too much. The more Muzan regenerates, the more Tanjiro burns him, and it slowly drains him all the way to sunrise. By the time the sun comes up, Muzan is already completely burned out, and the sunlight finishes him off. Because of that, Tanjiro never turns into the Demon King, and a lot more people are in much better condition. So in this timeline, Obanai and Mitsuri survive and get together. Giyu does not lose an arm. Gyomei doesn't lose any limbs, but he still dies because of the Demon Slayer mark. Since he's past 25, Muichiro, Shinobu, and Genya still die in the Infinity Castle. Giyu and Sanemi both survive, and that's how this timeline ends. I hope you guys liked this video. Let me know in the comments if you want me to post more My Hero Academia content on my main channel. If not, check out my second channel. I already have a lot of MHA videos up there right now. Also, let me know some good MHA video ideas. And if you haven't seen it yet, check out What If Tanjiro Had a Devil Fruit. I gave him the Phoenix Fruit, which gives insane healing and blue flame abilities. Make sure you click that video right here.